you suck, They've got onto that computer and they're like, fucking hell, you suck. It really gets to them, and inadvertently gets to me.
It's just me, Bellissi.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of Now. I'm Bellissi. I'm an independent artist, a music producer and writer. And being on this path that most think insane, risky, or even just plain silly, I get a lot of negativity. And I believe as soon as you turn on that positive power, you inadvertently attract or engage the negative. It's just the law, and it's just the way it is, and we have to deal with it. And it's really not easy to deal with. The path that everybody else is walking, that's the easy path if that's what you want, the 9 to 5. But really, is that easy? It's not. It just means that they can moan like fuck about it, But when we, as artists, entrepreneurs, or small businesses, or doing something that's against the norm, like we've talked about before, we feel like we're taught that we can't moan about it. So we just got to, just suck it and see. We just got to do it, And dealing with the negatives is something that we just have to deal with. But you also get loads of the highs, with this choice and the positivity that comes with it. And that's the reason for this podcast, really, is that we have to take the positives from the negatives, that we received. That's what we have to do as artists. Sometimes we can just simply ignore those negatives, but sometimes, it begins to eat our soul. And so we've got to address it. And so this is how I do it, or how I try to get through those negative times. Now, I have to confess, I'm a work in progress. I'm still new to this, and I try to remain positive as much as I can, but sometimes the negatives do, creep in. But so, I'm just a student as much as you are, but this is some of the sort of tactics that I use to get through it. So first off, we deal with the real people, the people that are in your circle, not the comments or the mails or anything like that, the people that are there, the real people. And as I've said before, sometimes it's the closest people to you that are the poison, Sometimes you'll tell them you're going on this path, or you'll give them a bit of your art to listen to or to look at, or whatever it is that you do. And they hate it. And sometimes it's just because they don't like it. And other times it's because they don't like what you stand for. They see you as a threat now, and they want to bring you back down to where they are. And like I talked about before, they're the poison, and you've got to leave them where they are. But it's really, really hard. And I do understand that. And I've had to cut a lot of people out of my life in the past that were close friends, because all they were poison. They were just negative, just for the sake of being negative. There was no constructive criticism. Some people in the art world, we give our music to, and they say, well, it's good, but it could be better, change this, do that. That's totally different. I don't see that as negativity. It's when someone just says, well, this is just a load of fucking crap, isn't it? What can I do with that? Absolutely nothing. So bin it, bin them. And the number one thing to do, and it's the hardest thing to do, is to stay positive. And that's what we're told all the time, isn't it? And I tell my loved ones this, when they're having a bad day, that, you just got to stay positive. And it is really, really difficult, especially when you've just, you've put, say in my instance, I've just put an EP out and I've put a song out there, and yes, I am getting some good comments, but then you get another one and basically they're just saying, you suck, they've got onto that computer and they're like, fucking hell, you suck. It really gets to them, and inadvertently gets to me. And it is the hardest thing to do, to stay positive when you're receiving this kind of feedback. But you've got to be focused on that goal of success, no matter what. That is all that matters, is that you succeed. And I tell you what, as well, you need to be your biggest fan. That's what I try to be. And I don't always succeed in that, but that's what you've got to do. Starting out in business, entrepreneurship, independent artists, you've got to be the biggest fan. You've got to believe that you are number one and that you are going to succeed. I've released tracks before that I was so proud of and I'm really happy about. And then I get this negative comment and it just sends me right back down, and that's ridiculous, that I'm believing what they're telling me. And especially when it comes to art, obviously art is subjective, music is subjective. And, there's music out there that I don't particularly like very much, but that's okay. It's not for me. When they wrote that song, they didn't write it with me in mind. I'm not their audience, and that's fine. And that's the way you have to look at it when you get these negative comments, on your life. That's not your audience. It doesn't matter. It's like receiving an email. You open an email and they start talking about, this person that you've never heard of, and or something that happened, and you're racking your brains thinking, well, I can't remember any of this. And then they start describing what you're going to be doing next week and what kind of person you are and blah, 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 blah. And then you realize the recipient, it's not you. It was never meant for you. And sometimes that's how these comments work, because they don't know you. And even the people that come up to you, they don't really know who you are if they're giving this nasty feedback, these negative comments. So we must treat it like that. It's not for you. It's an error. You're not the recipient. Bin it. And I get comments all the time, that, especially on the song, how crap this song is, or I get one, I cannot sing. And I had one recently, this song is torture. Now, I find that really bizarre, because if it's that much torture, just move it. I think it was on TikTok. So you just got to do that. But they're not. They're obviously, oh my God, this is torture. And you must be listening to it again and again, which is great for me, keep doing that. But I think they're saying these things and they probably don't mean to hurt, or maybe they do want to hurt. They want to get inside you, because their life sucks that much that they want to hurt you. And it's really, really difficult to ignore those kind of things. And then, you scroll down and you've got more comments that are really, really good, that are saying that they're your biggest fan and that this song is amazing. And somehow we're able to bin those really easily. They go in, oh, that's nice. Oh, I can't sing. And then you're on that for, a couple of days and it's going around and around in your mind. Yet the good things, you just get rid of. Our priorities are all squiff. And so it's like I've said before, with Buddhism, we've got to try and live in the middle, especially as artists. And I've seen actors talk about this as well. Robert De Niro and Tom Hanks, I've seen them in conversation about it, about the highs and the extreme lows, and they're massive extremes. And you've got to just try and just be in the middle, brush off that, all those accolades, oh, this is amazing, thank you, be humble. And then the same when it's all, this is crap, okay. And just let it slide, because you're in the middle, you're focused, And we should only use, the things that come to us that can make us stronger, and negative comments are never going to do that. If something comes to us and we think, well, yes, I can use that, that's going to make my day better, or the art's better, or the people around me better, then okay, I'll use it. But there's, a comment like, you can't sing. And this is really odd. I won't say where it is, but there's a particular part in the UK that they really don't like Bellissi. And it's really odd, because it's, when I do get these comments, and it's always the same comment, you can't sing. Or the other one the other day, you can't sing, bro. So we're brothers. So, but you can't sing. And that really irritated me for a little while. And then I began thinking, well, some of my greatest idols, they can't sing either. And more than that, I've never said to anybody I'm a singer. I quite agree with you. I can't sing. That's not what I'm about. I produce art. I produce a package. I produce a music, a sound, an emotion. That's what I'm after. I'm not going on X Factor to try and win, over some twats. It's not about singing. So when they do that, at first it hurts, so then you can break it down, which you shouldn't really anyway. It shouldn't even get that far. But if it does, take that comment, friends. I break it down. Some of the greatest singers in the world that are classed as singers, Bob Dylan. My gosh, some people really dislike his tone, and I love it. He's one of my idols. I think he's an absolute fantastic poet, folk songwriter. But his vocals are not for everybody, and some people say that he can't sing. Well, that's ridiculous. So we mustn't get too wrapped up in those comments. You've got to remember it's just a flippant remark to them. They've written it and it's gone, but it stays with us. So we need to find a way of just removing that, really even before it gets to us, but certainly when it gets to us, push it away. Another form of negativity is when we have to explain to other people what we do as artists or entrepreneurs. I was in a bank the other day and they said, "Oh, are you still a paramedic, sir?" And I say, "No, I'm an artist." And I find that really help. Not so much anymore, but I used to. There's two ways of sort of going about it. You say, "Oh, I'm an artist, I'm not worthy," or "I'm an artist, darling," and it's like, fucking hell, you look like a right idiot. So you've it's about that positivity and believing in yourself. Yeah, I'm an artist, and that's it. Take it or leave it. And they do. Oh, right, okay, that's fine, because they can see you believe it, so they believe it. And that's all that matters, is that you believe in yourself. And you're not going to do this all the time. And I don't do it all the time. I try to, and that's why we talk about it so much and we read about it, or indeed we listen to podcasts about it. We want some reassurance that it's okay what we're doing. And more importantly, is it okay to feel like this, And if you're like me, you believe in the universe 100% and that the universe is always listening and will respond in kind. So then we start berating ourselves because we're like, oh, I've got these negative thoughts, so that's all I'm going to get now. I'm just going to reflect negativity. But I believe this is okay too, We can't be high as a kite all the time. But, and there is a but, we must recognize it quickly. So if we are in that state of negativity, we've got to turn it. We've got to change it to that positive, that positive vibe, that positive vibration within us, and always, and I believe it, always expect the best. Why not? So we do need to respond to those negative comments that affects us, and our response should simply be to bin it. If I have problems that I sort of cannot sort out there and then I put them up to my higher self. And I read a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, by Susan Jeffers, a good few years ago, about 20 years ago, actually. And she talks about your higher self in that. And it's stuck with me all these years. And there's loads of books on that now. And it's basically a way of just taking those problems and just putting them up to your higher self, your subconscious, and saying, I can't deal with this right now. I'm going to put this up to my higher self, all will be well. However, if there's a situation that I can do nothing about, there's no solving it. I cannot control it. Other people's negativity, for example, or their disdain for my art, my being, my life, then I bin them. What good is that to me? I'm not taking that on board. I'm certainly not putting it up to my higher self. So we should bin it. And I do that physically as well, And it's good practice to do this aloud. These thoughts I am having, I remove from my conscious and I bin them. They are no good for me. They are no good for my journey. I am good and I am on the right path. And move on, And at first it will seem so alien, but the more times you do it, and you do it and you do it, it will become second nature. And you'll get these comments in and you'll think, can I do something about this? Yeah, I'll put it upstairs. No, I can't do it. Get rid, and move on with your day. And it's as simple as that. Ish. But with practice, it gets a lot easier. Another way to help yourself with negativity is to look inward. When you're being negative to yourself or negative to other people, So firstly, to yourself, which I do all the time, or I certainly used to. I try not to do it as much now, but on the down days, it's easy to do. And really, and probably all artists can relate to this, but I am my own worst critic. And there's nothing that anybody can say to me that I've not already said to myself. And I think that's why the comments, the negative comments or the negative words or the people that you meet hurt so much, because you've told yourself so many times that you're not worthy or that you're useless or you're crap or something. So when they say it, reaffirms it, and you're like, yeah, God, and that makes you so much more angry, So you can't berate yourself like this, And this will take, so much practice, because we're all good at putting ourselves down, but we've got to stop, and that will stop those comments from hurting so much, And another thing, you should never refer to yourself in a derogatory way. And I read this recently, and that it's, even in jest, you shouldn't say, oh, sorry, I'm such an idiot, or I'm such a fool, or fucking hell, what a twat, I am, if you're, I'm sorry, or things like that. And I do that. And we mustn't do that, because our subconscious is listening all the time. And it doesn't know when we're joking or when we're dead on serious. If we call ourselves a twat, when then you're a twat, you're useless. So you cannot do that ever, And like I said, how can we expect people to see us any other way if we ourselves are calling ourselves, idiots or losers or whatever else, They're just going to see the same thing. And when they reaffirm it, it's going to hurt a lot more. So what I say, every time this happens, replace it. If you do have some negativity towards yourself, which you're going to do, we all do, then you've got to replace it, and replace it quickly. I like to look at achievements that I've done, or say, for instance, like I've just released this EP and people are saying it's not very good, and then quickly, or if I'm like, oh, it could be better. Well, I did it on the time, the time that I said I would. I've written 6 new tracks that wasn't there before, and you just do it, with yourself. If you're writing or painting or whatever it is you're doing, just look at your achievements, what you've done, and not the negatives. And also looking inwards and with negativity is not to be negative towards other people, which again, we're all guilty of, I see other people living their life, a 9 to 5, and they're really unhappy. And I see it's just such a waste of life. And so I'm putting negative vibes out there towards them, and that's not fair. And so I'm going to attract more negative towards me. So we have to stop that as well. So everything is positive. Always try to see the positive, Peace and love, what a cliche. But that's what we should be striving for every day. Peace and love. Why not? Why shouldn't we? I don't understand. So the next time you get a negative comment or you meet a negative person that's negative about your art or your lifestyle, you have 2 choices on how you're going to deal with it. You can take this comment in, but you can quickly dispose of it, affirming that you are on the right path and that it was simple miscommunication, that they don't understand you. So how can it hurt you, Or you can simply let it brush past you. And this will take some time, but it's possible. We all have the possibility to do this. We're all capable of doing this. And so if something is not going to serve you, and this is the way I do look at it. If something is not going to serve you, then why let it in? Why would you let that control you and dictate your life? It's as simple as that. Keep practicing. I know I will. Keep creating. God bless. Cheers.
Yeah, okay. Believe me when I say when I say not everyone likes peas. Not everyone likes peas. Not everyone likes peas. Not everyone likes peas. It's just me, Bellissi.